Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
Good morning. Faraz Shaukat Ali is on leave. I am Banduri Jayasekar standing in for Faraz Shaukat Ali. The newspapers are carrying. The TV you already watched on news yesterday. Member of Parliament Hirnika's guards abduction using a defender arrested. Earlier we talked of white vans. Now we are talking of defenders. I don't think anybody can take the law to their hands. It can be, as reported, a family dispute. That's left to the police and the people who are there to carry out justice. So we are watching. We are the People's Channel. We are watching irrespective of who is. We have this channel, this network. We have campaigned for it. We wanted a proper change. So that's really what nobody can. So let the law and order and let the lawmakers or the people who are there to carry out justice see that no MP or no politician should take the law into their hands, irrespective of who they are, what they are. So we are watching. That's very important. We have a special guest from Australia, Professor Siri Kannangara, Professor of Medicine. He was recognized and I would say awarded by the British Queen, the Order of Australia, not once but twice. He would still say once, but I know for sure it's twice. And he's been living in Australia for 45 years. He was also the doctor for the Australian soccer team, the Socceroos. And he's treated lots of people, lead in sports medicine. So he's come back here on vacation to his motherland. Good to have you with us, Siri.
Thank you, Bandula. Nice to be here.
So let's get into, I mean, we asked you in this Sinhala program also, but you are interested in cricket, you have treated cricketers. What has happened to the Sri Lankan cricket team in New Zealand? Lack of fitness or what?
Bandula, lots of 5-day matches in 3 days now. It's not just the Sri Lankan team. Australians are annihilating the Windies and the New Zealanders. So I think I blame the 2020 cricket for that. The true test is not there anymore. Now they just go and hit, and that to me is not cricket. But my interest in cricket started in '77 when World Series started. I was the first doctor for the World Series cricket, the Australian, Windies and the world team. So that's my introduction to cricket, and then from there it was to soccer, but by default I looked after the Sri Lankan cricketers. It was very nice looking after people like Arjuna and Aravinda Silva, very, very, very talented cricketers. They'd stand anywhere in the world.
So you have worked with Sri Lankan cricket for a long time?
Absolutely, I have.
So there's politics in cricket and cricket in politics, and there are going to be elections very soon.
Yes.
Very soon, and then there is a battle between the Ranatungas and Sumati Palace. I know you don't have a vote, but who would you support?
See, I have known Arjuna since he was a 19-year-old who came to play for the Sri Lankan team, and I have treated him and known him, in fact, even when he came for the World Series, World Cup last year, this year, he visited me and I treated him and so on. So, and he is a grateful chap, and I obviously I call him Puta even now. He could be a minister, all that, but he's still to me.
But see, Arjuna is not contesting, his brother is contesting.
Well, I'm talking about Arjuna. So
yes, but then do you think that Arjuna can play a better role in cricket administration?
I trust that guy. In whatever he.
You don't trust the Sumati Palace?
I don't know them, so I can't.
So you don't know them?
I don't know them.
So now we would tell us. Would you tell us about, because you have treated Sachin Tendulkar. I know you never told this story to me, but what I heard from another doctor in Sydney, that he came in search of you. Why did he come in search of you?
Well, he had a back problem, and he was advised to see me by Chaminda Vas, who had a similar back problem. And I got Chaminda on the park within a month, when the whole of the country said he's no more. And I thank Anna Punchihewa for sending him to Sydney. And it was Chaminda who said, just go and get Siri to treat you. So that's how Sachin came to see me, and I got him playing for 10 more years.
How about like the Sri Lankan cricket? Aren't they seeking your help anymore?
No, they don't anymore.
Why not?
I think they've got a white man looking after the cricketers, and
They're almost a white man.
oh, thank you. It's with a bit of makeup.
But there's a very interesting request from somebody who's associated, because you were among the 11 doctors selected by FIFA.
Correct.
And there is, one of our football veterans, administrators, Trevor Rackaman, is sending me. He's saying, ask Siri to help Sri Lankan football. What have you got to say?
Well, then, the thing is, my services have been available for the last, 40 years, I'd say. But if I can't barge in and say, here I am.
Now here is, Trevor was, I think, former secretary of the Football Federation. They ask him.
If they ask me, I'll help. There was a time they asked me and I helped. There was a time they sent the players to Sydney and I helped them. Whenever I came here, I saw them. In fact, Arjuna wanted me to be there with the team in the World Cup, which they won. Alex Konturi, who is a physiotherapist. I mean,
He was back with the Australian team.
Exactly. I did his the checking as to his qualifications, and he's been in touch with me for quite a long time. And then he learned cricket and he learned physiotherapy on the job. Tremendous. Now he's great. But the guys now, I'm told that the physiotherapists try to be doctors. They can't. So this is what's happening with the Sri Lankan cricket team. I don't want to get involved in that. If somebody wants my help, I'm there to give the help.
I know, Trevor, I know you watch Pathikada as well as MTV Newsline. Yeah, I mean, we'll connect you with Siri. He wants to help. You have made the request. We will do that for you. Now, coming back, we have lots to discuss with you, Siri. Now, you have given quite a lot of back to your country. We'll discuss that more in detail. But you say you treat people free and help. But I think you arrived in Sri Lanka only on Wednesday. There's lots of agitation by these doctors in Sri Lanka asking for duty-free car permits. They are fighting. What do you think? Don't try to be a diplomat. You can speak to us freely.
Bandula, I really don't know much about this, and I should not interfere in the local medical politics or politics coming from overseas. That's the golden principle I follow. So I'm not going to comment.
Yeah, but you are a professor. We're talking Florence Nightingale, service to the people, the poor people. Now you said you had a free education.
Yep.
And you give back.
Yep.
But why are these people agitating in your view? Should they agitate or not?
You got to ask them that. I can't answer. Bandula, I can't answer. No, I shouldn't answer either. I have no opinion, and it's their individual grouses. Let them take it up with the authorities.
Yeah. Now, see, I think in the Sinhala program also, I'm going to ask this in the English program. We have a question by one of our viewers. It's easy to say this in the English program. Now, you talked of free education, that you are given back. Even the Australian soccer team, you treated them free. One of the viewers says, free education in Sri Lanka and serving whites for money. Right? Tell him, enough advising and get back to Sri Lanka and pay back what he got free. Siri?
I disagree. It's not serving whites for money. I'm a medical practitioner, basically, and I do my job, and of course I get remunerated at the rate at they remunerate specialists. Everybody knows this, I treat all Sri Lankans free. They're not charged a red cent. That is what I want to put back. And people say I'm silly to do that, but I can manage. And so, but for me, in my old age, to come back here, what for?
How do you're old? I thought you're...
No, I'm very old.
Yeah.
We've discussed my age before.
Yeah, but this is a different audience, so, but then why don't you come back and settle down in Sri Lanka?
The thing is, Bandula, I have been practicing for a long time, and I have had, and as a rheumatologist, there are people with chronic illnesses, right? And then I have been treating them for a number of years. I can't just dump them and say, I'm all right now, I'm going back home, you guys go.
That's what other people are doing.
I can't do what the other people do. This is, if I can find, I have been training quite a few people, including a young Sri Lankan guy, and he promised to be with me, and then he went and signed up in Canberra. If I can have somebody reliable, I could hand over my job to so that I know my patients will be looked after. I'll be here the next
How
week.
often do you visit Sri Lanka?
About 3 times a year.
And do you conduct clinics?
I
and
do.
meet patients?
There are a few of my colleagues here. Dr. Dalit Vijayaratna, Dr. Harindu Vijayasinghe, and Dr. Dumindu Munidas. They are rheumatologists who also have an interest in sports medicine. They have difficult cases they want to discuss with me, and they have a day where I go and see these patients, give an opinion, which they can take it or leave it, and they value my being here, and I put it back, and I lecture and I tutor, so I think I give back.
It's very interesting. You got a response from the Football Federation, Trevor Ackerman. He says thank you, that he will be in Sydney late January and he hopes to see you. So I mean, I'm sure the football... The Football Federation will, try to get your services.
Sure.
But, we have quite a lot to discuss. But what do you think of the situation of sports medicine in Sri Lanka? I know it's a lot to discuss.
Unfortunately, there aren't many qualified and trained people, but there's a college and there are lots of doctors who are taking a lot of interest. Right, so, and we've got to give them that. We have to start somewhere. And these doctors who I mentioned before, pioneered also by Dr. General Ture Raja. These guys
he did a lot, Brigadier.
He did.
Or General Ture Raja.
General Ture Raja. He did a lot. He was the only... And now there are some youngsters who are trained, and there are, I believe, a couple from overseas who are coming back as well. So they're doing something, and we should encourage them to do things and to get on par with the overseas institutes.
Great lack of awareness, I thought.
True, but the thing is, you've got to make this awareness down to the nitty-gritty, to the grassroots levels. They've got to take the message to the schools, to the village schools, and teach them basic things.
Why isn't it happening?
Well,
no, in your view, and what advice could you give?
Well, we conduct things see, cricketers, fast bowlers used to get stress fractures in their backs. And we looked into that in Australia and found that kids under 12, they shall only bowl 6 overs per day. We ban anything more than that, right? So things like that has happened. We do work at the grassroots level. So these doctors should get involved. Their town, city clubs, etc. And just, everybody who wants to do sports medicine wants to look after the national team.
So we have to take a short break and we'll be back in a moment.
Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
Welcome back. We are joined by Professor Siri Kannangara from the University of Sydney and Professor of Medicine. Siri, now we were discussing about the myths, about the fitness. If you could elaborate, let's continue with our discussion about the sportsmen, the injuries. Those are the things which we were telling.
Mandula, injuries must be managed efficiently and effectively. If the injuries are not managed properly, now again we go back to the cricket fast bowlers. And
you said the children are allowed only 6 overs.
6 overs.
That's in Australia.
That is in Australia. So these sort of things must happen here, where we should, know where to draw lines. It's a pity that
we don't know how to draw lines in this country. That's the problem.
No, I have to mention this name, Nuwan Soisa, one of our best left-arm quickies.
Sri Lanka's Big Bird.
Right. Sri Lanka's Big Bird got a hat-trick in South Africa. That's for number 1, 3 and 4, not 9, 10 and 11. So he was a good bowler. Now, how did they do a fitness for him? They got him to bowl 21 overs. And you know what happened? He had stress fractures in the back after that. He never played cricket after that. That's just a waste. We should know what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. So this is where knowledge comes in, and the knowledge must flow down. And if they don't ask for help, they don't get help.
And if I speak very freely, when we had this established, the sports ministry, the sports medicine unit, some doctors, like it or not, I'm not going to mention names, even though I can, they started playing politics. This is what happened. Susantika, I know you treated Susantika.
Number of times.
Yeah. So they played, and I thought Arjuna tried to make a difference. I'm talking of your pupil,
Yes.
Arjuna De Silva. He tried to make a difference. So we should have a proper, like, number one, proper education, establishment of proper units. So when the sports medicine doctors try to play politics, there's a big issue.
Absolutely.
That's really what happened here.
I agree with you. There was a stage when nothing happened in the sports ministry because of doctors and their lackadaisia. But Arjuna has asked for help at the right times. Harindu, those people have asked for help at the right time, and they are pretty good at what they're doing. So they should be in a position to advise. But if if they don't know their limitations, then you're not going to get anywhere. Everybody should know their limitations, including myself. And if something is orthopedic, I've got to call my orthopedic colleagues and say, son, do this. Right? So physiotherapists should be physiotherapists. They don't have to be doctors. And some physiotherapists have a very good knowledge. Yeah. But they have, you don't ask for an MRI at a drop of a hat, which costs 17,000.
That's what happens here.
Exactly. MRIs in Australia are requested only by specialists. GPs can do 2 areas, knee and the
But
neck.
even here, GPs, anybody can ask for it.
Yeah. But you just ask for an MRI without batting an eyelid. 17,000 rupees sometimes to a patient might mean pawning a bit of land or something to pay
No,
that.
I don't want to comment on this since you don't want to, but this is what I'm trying to say, Siri, here, the GMOA, there's a lot of uproar. They talk about, you're highlighting as a professor of medicine, the basics, what the doctors do. So we are the People's Channel, we talk about people, this is what is happening to people like this MRI, any doctor can call for. Some of this medicine, should be prescribed, but they can get it off the counter. This is what we feel that the doctors, there are a lot, of things the doctors could address. And even we had this Ajit Sipera who is disabled, who is some person with different abilities. He said there are no facilities even in private hospitals for disabled people. Mm-hmm. We have nearly 17% disabled people. So this is what, without fighting for those, this is the tragedy in Sri Lanka. That's what we want to highlight. I'm sure you're aware of it, even if you don't want to comment.
I don't want to comment because it's completely out of my expertise. I can talk about injuries, I can talk about rheumatology, but these sort of things are things that should be taken up by doctors with the GMOA and other things and make representation to the government. Yeah.
And I also want to refresh the memory of our viewers. Now, we talked of Susantika, you have treated Susantika, and we are saying about politics in sports medicine. And that time I thought it was very unfortunate what she had to go through because of certain ministers, and they made things difficult for her and demoralized her.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. If that girl got a little bit more support in Sydney, she got no support. She had to fend for herself. Really, it hurts to know that the Sri Lankan community were divided and we didn't back that girl up properly at all due to various things. I don't know who's right, but only thing is, when that girl ran that 200 meters, everybody should have supported her. She was fighting in the team. The team administration was against her, didn't get the support. That stinks.
So that is straight, we spoke of Duncan White, of the great Duncan White, and then we had one of the best bets, and the politicians, led by politicians, it was discussed in the parliament and ruined this girl. We would have had a better chance.
Absolutely. She should have been the legitimate silver medalist and possibly now gold after the first one
Marion
confessed
Jones,
yes, drugs. So she worked hard. I knew her for a long time, and she had that extra nerve that was getting her to the top. This whole country.
It's so tragic that Sri Lanka lost and those ministers still survive and exist. It's very. This is the tragedy in Sri Lanka. How about sports and politics in Australia?
Sports and politics, they don't mix. There's, sports people do their bit, and when it comes to a political thing, they hand it over to the right people. They
no
don't
interference. Not even in New Zealand.
I don't think so, but I don't know. But in the selection of a team, the ministers don't put their hand into the pie.
But now, like doping scandals, now the Australian swimming team had issues.
Yes.
sports.
Yes, doping is another problem.
It's another
It's a huge problem. And see, I was part of the FIFA doping control. I'm still considered a FIFA doping control officer. And they're very strict. And soccer or football would have the lowest incidence of doping, which is really great.
Soccer and swimming.
Football.
Football, yeah.
Football. And because FIFA doping control is very strict. There's no nonsense. It's doctors who run these tests, and yeah. But you know, if you, I mean, I don't want to talk on television about things that happened to Susantika again on this doping thing. She had the urine sample spiked
By
our fellows,
by officials, and you know,
By
I
our
think
fellows.
we should keep reminding, because the politicians and certain corrupt officials, they really have a good time, but because of Susantika, the country lost. It's not really Susantika, the country lost. I think we should keep on reminding what they have done. I mean, you feel, you lived in Australia, you were at Sydney Olympics. I mean, it's good that we brought this subject back, but you feel so hurt for...
Politicians, I beg of them not to interfere with the team selections and so on. Let the coaches and let the selectors do that. And you know, I mean, I'm making an appeal. It doesn't happen in that part of the world.
It's another interesting, like last week or something, I saw our team is in New Zealand, and then there was certain changes made, this Kusal Pera and all this, and then I saw at the end there's a release by the Sri Lankan Cricket Board, and it says the last para said this has been approved by the Ministry of Sports. Minister of Sports. I thought that's wrong. Let the selectors should have said, why should we go to the Minister of Sports?
Why appoint selectors then?
Yes, this is my
Why appoint
question.
selectors? Let the cabinet pick the team. I'm sorry, I'm being
It
outspoken.
happened before, I mean. It
But
happened.
it's really, Bandula, there's no point. Politics and sports, they should be
Yeah, and I
separate.
noticed in that press release that last two lines, the Minister of Sports have approved. So I think it should go on from the selectors.
Absolutely, I agree.
But I feel now, since you are involved in sports and sports medicine, I think we will not be able to move ahead as long as these people get involved. Now you could see a lesser involvement now
Yes.
than the previous government.
Yes.
I mean, but still, again, we are not going to name names, even though I would like to, but since you are keen not to hear certain names, but even the cricketers went to those politicians and asked for favours. That's what happened in Sri Lanka.
I suppose I can't comment on those, but they really got to have watertight compartments between these things, because this doesn't happen. No favoritism takes place in Australia, to the best of my knowledge, in cricket or football or rugby. It is entirely in the hands of the coach and the selectors. Why bother having selectors if you and I can select?
Yeah, so I think that's where those countries are doing well. But coming to Australia, how do these guys, they're really fit, how do they maintain and sustain themselves, the Australian sportsmen?
There was an Olympic Games where Australia got nothing. New Zealand, for the little country, had over 4 or 5 gold medals. I think that's the time Australia woke up and started the Institute of Sports in Canberra. That looked into every aspect, and it got kids from the rural areas where they excel, and gave them scholarships to be there, to be taught. And it's a sort of a pyramid scheme. And the products were superb at every sport, soccer and cricket and rugby, swimming. They were sponsored by the institute and brought up. So this is what the talent scouts should do. Go to the villages, pick the talent, not just the one-off.
And Australia now is based on it's known as sporting country, right? That's how they have developed.
Australia always was, and in sports medicine it is the premier setup, because we train our sports medicine doctors thoroughly, and they're really very competent, and I'm quite proud to say that, because I was instrumental in starting the College of Sports Physicians.
I think it would help any country if we develop ourselves based on sports, because it will unite people. Now take Murali as being a unifying factor. The sports and music unites people, all communities. I think that's what Australia is doing. People are running behind under any sports. So you could see every day they're more outdoor people. I think that's what we should make children and
also Bandula, doctors and others should go to the grassroots levels and help those kids to come up to the international level.
I would say the viewers is less iPhones, less iPads, less computers, and we should go back outdoors. And Siri, to end the program, behalf of Capital Maharaja, our group, then our TV channels, Sirasa, Shakti, MTV, we want to say that we are proud of your achievements. May God give you strength to reach even higher heights.
Abdullah, thank you for having me.
And thank you very much for joining. Tomorrow we will be joined by two young people, a girl and a boy, 23, 24 years old. But we are going to talk human rights with them. Human rights, not Geneva style, real human rights. Do join us tomorrow same time. Thank you.
Newsfirst.